Hello and welcome to another episode of Wrinkles and Grace. Thank you so much for watching our last video. We are so amazed. The likes, the comments, and for sharing the video. Yes, that's important.
Our goal is to provide resources for older adults as well as their caregivers to support them and empower them to live actively, gracefully, and purposefully.
Awesome. So we are back. We're back for another episode. And who is this episode for? Last time we talked about general things about the science of aging. But this episode, we want to focus a little bit on our caregivers. And if you remember the previous video we released, we described who caregivers are. So caregivers could be informal or formal. So if you are a child or a relative of an older adult, providing care for an older adult around you, or if you are paid, then this is for you, because we'll be talking about tips on how to care for older adults. What are we even talking about?
So I was just thinking about it, Tolu. So if I am a child, I'm taking care of my parents, but my siblings, they're giving me a stipend every month for taking care of my parents. Maybe my parents are living with me or something. So what will you call me? Am I informal or a former caregiver?
I don't know. Semi-formal. Semi-formal. Is there a standard definition for that situation or not?
No, I'm not sure there is a standard definition for that. We'll most likely just still classify you as
anywhere you want to.
Yeah, as most likely an informal caregiver because you have a relationship with that holder, like a personal relationship with that person, and you're being paid. So
okay, so formal, informal, and everything in between. This episode is for you. Maybe you're wondering, how do I take care of my older adults? Your parents or grandparents may have just maybe clocked 60, 65, 70, and they're in that place where they need some support. Maybe they're even living with you. How do you support them? You know, how do you make sure that you guys don't step on each other's toes? That happens a lot. If they're not living with you, maybe with a sibling or a caregiver, how do you provide the adequate support so that they don't feel like they're alone? You know, things like that is what we want to talk about in today's episode.
Yes, and also in a time like this when a lot of young people are moving out of Africa into the Western world. They are jackbuying, yes. So, and you really want to support your parents, but you're not there physically. What can you do such that they don't miss your absence too much? They will definitely do, but they know that you care about them and you really want to take care of them.
Yes. And some of you may think that, well, I don't know, it doesn't really apply to me. The truth is that at some point, everybody will have to face this because people are living way longer now than in the past.
Doesn't look like that because people are dying every day too.
And people are being born every day and people are living. The truth is that today, about 4.9% of the population in Africa are older adults, so about 74 million, right?
Wow.
And it's projected that by 2050, that percentage will rise to about 10%. That's a lot, right? It doesn't look like it today, right? But when you look at the average life expectancy, right, it's increasing. People are more aware of their health. There's a lot more advancement. There's a huge advancement in healthcare today. People are more aware about like lifestyle changes. People are more educated, so they are able to make more informed choices. There's a lot of factors that is making it possible for people to live longer than they have in the past. Remember that at Wrinkles and Grace, we collaborate with older adults and their caregivers to support active, graceful, and purposeful living. So what do we mean by that?
Okay, so let's take it one after the other. So active living means that you are deliberate, you're intentional about how you are living your life, especially your overall well-being, be it physical, mental, social, and even your emotional well-being. You're taking positive steps towards living that healthy life, that lifestyle you want, the healthy lifestyle and a life that feels fulfilling to you. So when we talk about graceful living, we know that the aging process can be challenging. At the same time, there are joys associated with that period.
Yeah, grandchildren.
God bless you. I was going to mention that. Yes.
There's a lot of wisdom to share with younger people. Just that feeling of, yes, I think I've lived a long and fulfilled life. Yeah.
So graceful living means that you are embracing and maximizing both the challenges and the joy, and you are able to live your old age in an elegant, a smooth and relaxed manner, even in the midst of those challenges.
Yeah. And purposeful living, a lot of times, well, most times actually, when people retire and they are no longer working, it's very easy to
lose a sense of
purpose, because like, I'm not working, how am I contributing? And that is a real thing actually. A lot of people feel very worthless as older adults, and what we want to do is that we want to help you through our sharing of these resources and some of the things we'll be talking about in all our episodes, so stay tuned. We want to be able to help you recapture that sense of purpose,
renewed
suggest things that you can do that is not work necessarily, but that would help you find that renewed sense of purpose and vision for the rest of life. So now, for caregivers, what does it look like to care for older adults? And we are going to be sharing 10 things. This episode will share 5. Next episode, so that you can come back for more, we'll share 5 more things that caregivers can do to care for their older adults.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to start us with it?
Yes. Our first tip is that as caregivers, you need to be patient with your older adults. Transitioning to the age of 60 and above can be very challenging. It can be a time of emotional outburst for people while they're trying to understand themselves. At the same time, some of them might be going through losses, loss of spouse, their close friends, even some other relatives that might be younger than them, or people that they used to do life together, and those people are now gone. So it can really be challenging, and you need to be very patient with them. Also, if your older adult is already showing signs of cognitive decline, they're forgetting things, they don't remember where they are, you need to exercise more patience with them. The more patience you have with an older adult, the more likelihood that you're going to enjoy your relationship with them.
Yeah, and I think that patience also comes with respect, which is our second point, that it's good to remember that, you know, they are older adults, and why they are going through some of these the changes. Like, even if somebody doesn't have a medical condition they are managing, even if they are perfectly in perfect health, there's still a lot of challenges like loneliness, loss of their friends and loved ones. So the same way something is going on with you and then you react negatively to somebody or you flare up, the same way it's even more heightened for an older adult. They are also humans, they are adults, they are entitled to that. So it's very easy for you to maybe do some things that may sound disrespectful because you're like, oh, why is she saying this? Why is mommy talking like this? Why is she not understanding my own viewpoint? So I think respect doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with everything that they do, but just respecting their opinions, respecting their process, and providing support through that process is very important as caregivers.
And that also reminds us that it is very, very easy to actually disrespect them when you're the one paying their bills. Mm-hmm. You're the one
providing support consistently.
It would detect it will pace the piper, dictates the tune. So now it's like you're now the one in charge, and we don't want you to disrespect them. They crave dignity. They crave that respect. So please respect them. Many times there's usually a mismatch between how an older adult wants to be supported and how their children or their caregivers, whether formal or informal, would like to support them. And most of the time, this mismatch usually results in conflict. Mm-hmm. So never assume you know what is best for your older adult. Never assume you know how best to take care of them. Make it conversational. What does grandpa and grandma, what would they like? Mm-hmm. What do they like?
Yeah. And it's just simple courtesy, actually, because a lot of times, even for us, we hear a lot of things about the patient knows what is good for them, so listen to the patient. As caregivers, as healthcare professionals, we are trained to listen to, even though you have knowledge and you know how to treat, listen to what they need, listen to how listen to what they say, because there's some things that they say that you might not pay attention to, but because they mentioned something, oh, I need to pay attention to that because it can point to something. It's the same way with our older adults, right? Sometimes we know that, okay, we need to support them if they're living with you, okay, providing food and everything, but there are some things that they may want that would help them to feel active. There are some things they want that might help them to feel like they're regaining a sense of purpose, that if you're not listening to that and you're just doing what you think is best, it may be good, but then it may not be good for your older adults.
Take for instance, your older adults may want you to spend quality time with them, but you're the type that you're busy. Yes, we understand you're busy. You just keep sending them money every month and you think that's enough for grandpa and grandma.
Enough. Yeah. So,
and there might be like there are issues parents want to discuss with their children face to face that they can't mention to you over the phone. And if you don't visit them or spend quality time to them, you may never discover what's going on with them, especially when it comes to chronic disease, chronic illness, and you might be too late by the time you realize something is actually going on with grandpa and grandma. So please, understand how they want to be supported and support them that way. Now, there is need for us as caregivers, as children, to strike a balance when it comes to supporting our older adults and understanding what they want. Because I know that in Africa, some older adults can go to the extreme.
Overboard.
Yes.
Feel like you have to be at their beck and call.
Yes, I want this, you must do it for me. I want that, you must do that for me. Please do not live beyond your means in supporting them. I think it's about understanding, striking a balance,
and communicating, because I feel like a lot of times also as Africans, we don't communicate. We have unrealistic expectations and we don't communicate. So if your parents are expecting you to do certain things for them and you feel like I'm not able to, or maybe things are not working out the way you planned it, let them know that, oh, I can't visit today, but next week I'll come. Something came up, like communicate, so that even though you may not have provided them what they needed, but that communication also shows respect, that yes, I value you, and then I'm working it out, right?
Yes, and I think we've started talking about our fourth tip actually, which is keep communication open, make it concise, and be clear. Be clear.
Yeah, be clear about what you mean. Be clear about what you can do. We have a lot of issues in Africa. We have a lot of great stuff in Africa, right? But we also have a lot of issues, right? We have a culture of shame that is still very rampant, right, in Africa, where, for example, use of assistive devices. Some people feel like, it's not something that I want to do. But I think it's important to communicate all those things. If your parent has fears about using something, or about, create an environment where they can actually talk to you and say, see, I don't want to use this. And then you can navigate what are the alternatives, what are the things we can do to get around this challenge. But then if we don't communicate, how do we know what the other person needs?
Yes.
Right?
And it's important that you also don't judge them or criticize them for what they're saying or about what they're saying. When they are sharing their minds with you, please do not be judgmental or criticize them. You may not support their method, you may not support their belief system, but please respectfully listen to them, and then you can now give your candid opinion about whatever discussion you're having.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, people may not share personal information. Even family members, there are sometimes that a family member, I have heard and witnessed situations where the parent did not tell the child that they are going through a certain illness, right? So you may assume that, everything is fine with mom and dad, everything is fine with my siblings, but then they might be going through personal things that they may not be very forthcoming about. But then being able to listen, being able to show that you are concerned, being able to ask questions, because communication also has to do with ask questions like, Mommy, how are you? Mommy, have you gone to do your regular checkup? Mommy, have you done this? So that even if they are reluctant to share, by you probing, they'll be able to share before it's too late. There are certain things that you can actually address when it is identified very early. which is why it's very important to communicate with your older adult.
And that way you also be holding them accountable for their health. It's not a one-way thing, it's a mutual thing. It has to be a two-way. You hold them accountable by asking the right question. How are you? How are you is not a question they should just say, I am fine. Like, ask the right question, get to the bottom of whatever might be going on with them so that you can address it as early as possible. And sometimes you might have situations where your parents do not want to repeat themselves because it might be a distressing situation for them. For instance, a parent is managing cancer or they've just received the diagnosis of cancer from their physician, and you call them, they've narrated everything to you, and then another sibling of yours calls and say, Mommy, how did your hospital appointment go today? And she's just shaking her head.
Yeah.
She's just shaking her head because it's gonna bring a lot of thought. It's just distressing to have to relay all of the information all over again. This is where you and your siblings need to communicate about the management of about the care of your older adults, because they don't have to repeat themselves. You could just get this information from your siblings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like at this point too, it's good to mention that if anyone watching us is an older adult, right? We are talking about you. Communication goes both ways too. I think that we need to start being a lot more vocal about, as caregivers, being open and patient and listening to older adults. Older adults also need to talk, need to understand that you are a senior, you're an older adult. Let's disabuse that shame mindset. You know, you have increased needs. You're not as strong as you used to be.
I used to take care of my children. Why should I be the one telling them what is going on with me now?
Even the athletes. Even the athletes. Think about it. No matter how great you are as an athlete, you retire at some point. You don't have that strength at some point. So if we can start thinking about the fact that embrace older adulthood, embrace it.
Be proud of it.
And be proud of it. You have wisdom, you have that crown of glory sitting on your head. So talk to your children, talk to your caregivers, except when it is not possible, of course. But for the most part, most people have the opportunity to talk to their caregivers and they do not, because of many of these things. Culture of shame, not being able to talk to people because you're reluctant to share.
Even pride.
Yeah, pride is also another thing. Yes, some people are proud. I mean, a young man that is proud is going to grow up to become an old man.
Yes, especially if you were stubborn, right? as at your young age, a stubborn young adult will most likely still be stubborn when they become an older adult.
So it's important for caregivers, children and caregivers, to also understand that older adults are people that have bad habits, that have negative attitudes. So it's trying not to go to the extreme of, they can do no wrong, or the extreme of they do not have it figured out at all. So staying in the middle.
Or I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Their feelings, yes.
When you need to tell them the truth, sometimes you really need to be expressive. That is part of holding them accountable. But balance your words of being expressive and respect, and not saying things that, or saying it in constructive manner, such that it does not hurt too much, or it does not hurt at all.
Because sometimes we just have to say things. Yeah. Communication is key, and openness and being able to discern how or when to say things is really important. So point 5 is for you as caregiver to build and foster a culture of interdependence. I think it's important for us as caregivers to support our older adults, to make them realize that they are very useful. They are worth a lot in our lives by including them in things. Maybe your older adult is living with you. You are going out to the park and you leave them in the house. You are going for an event where you have the opportunity to take them along. You are leaving them in the house.
And they can interact with other older adults there.
People. Yes, you are leaving them in the house because grandma is using walking stick. No, take them out. Let them use that walking stick outside and walk and be active a little bit. It will help their health. So I feel like we creating that culture of interdependence where we make our older adults feel useful. We involve them in things. Even if you don't have to maybe, for example, you have an older adult who is an accountant or who retired as an accountant. Ask them questions about finances. Let them give you wisdom, right? Rather than feeling, okay, they are retired, they are not, useful to me. Some of those things are things that help them to also gain
a renewed sense of
purpose,
yes.
Right? That interaction with the community, being involved in the fabric of your own life as well.
Yes, and if they are living with you and you're doing house chores, it's not bad to involve them in those house chores. Even if it's going to take a longer time for them to complete those tasks, they will feel useful and they will feel they are contributing something into the household.
But at the same time,
yes,
your parents can help you. On the other hand, we in Africa feel like, oh, the older people should not do anything. Younger people should do things. Like, house chores are not, you're not sending them errand or being a slave. Like,
it's actually a source of, a form of physical activity.
Yes, involving them in things. Now, if you're going to involve older adults in a particular chore, you're not going to say, oh, mommy, go and sweep the house. No, just ask them, what would you like to do to help you stay active? Like, many of them actually want to help.
We have vacuum cleaner now. So they don't have to sweep. Yeah. Because I actually don't want the older adults bending and hurting their back. Give them the vacuum cleaner, but say it
it doesn't have
in
to
a nice
be
way.
Vacuuming. It could be cleaning around the house. It could be meal prep. It could be cutting fruits. Like, things that you would normally do yourself, or you will think that, oh, my older adult cannot do. Like, ask them if they want to help you out in the kitchen. If they want to help you out in the kitchen, let them help you out. Not because you are disrespecting them, but because you want them to be active and involved. Think about it. You have kids that are helping you in the kitchen. You have older adults sitting down in the living room. If they are with you in the kitchen cutting fruit, they might be sharing stories about their life. Your children are connecting with your parents.
They're spending quality time with them.
Quality time. Yes. So it's not about the chore-focused conversation now, but the active, graceful, and purposeful focused lifestyle where you are incorporating your parents into the fabric of your own life.
And I kind of feel like it's easier if your mom is living with you when it comes to this issue of house chores. I can't imagine asking my dad to do some house chores for me if he's living with me.
Let me give an example.
Which example?
Your dad or grandpa is living with you.
Yes.
You are going to wash your car. Take them along for the ride.
Oh my God.
No. They are not washing the car, but they are with you while you're in the car wash. You can talk about stuff. Like, for example, people living outside of Nigeria, in countries where there are like all these automated car washes and stuff like that, it's not as stressful as you having to scrub the car yourself, right? You would go through the automated wash the outside and vacuum the inside. They can help you clean up the car together as you're chatting and discussing, or even sit down in the car with you. After you finish the house chores, branch the grocery store together and shop together. You're involving them in house chores while also fostering communication.
So involve your older adults in the things they like to do as they're living with you. Tolu, we've really been talking about older adults who are apparently healthy. So how do we foster a system of interdependence among older adults?
They may have medical conditions,
yes,
or maybe homebound.
Yes, homebound, wheelchair bound, and they can do little. Because for instance, if they're living with you, some of them will start feeling they are a burden to you and your husband or your wife, and they'll start feeling guilty for their condition, which you don't want. Even though, like, you are happy taking care of them, you see it as your responsibility, and you even see it as an honor. But here is your older adult living with you who feels that I'm a burden. And it's how do you erase that feeling of guilt?
I mean, I feel like
foster that interdependence.
It might be hard to do that, but we can start by taking baby steps of communicating with them, making them know that they are not a burden to you. A lot of times, we children or caregivers, we might be guilty of, maybe because it's stressful sometimes taking care of someone who has a chronic or a terminal illness. Sometimes it's easy for them to get the vibe that maybe a burden to them. I think it's important to communicate that they are not a burden. Like,
I guess you have to keep
as much as possible.
That,
yes, repetition, right? The same way with children, we have to repeat things for them to get it. Older adults too, by virtue of all the processes going on, we have to repeat things to them as well. And I also think that also falls on caregivers to learn how to adapt activities to older adults who may be using wheelchair or are not able to move as much or have a chronic illness. So being able to adapt. How can you adapt walking if you are somebody that takes walks outside of your house? How can you adapt walking to your older adult? How can you adapt going to shop with your older adult? How can you adapt conversations? How can you adapt helping them find out what they like to do? Some people may not be able to.
They don't know some people don't even know what they like now that they're retired.
Yes. And one thing you can do for older adults is to ask them, when you were younger, when you were a child, when you were growing up, what were those things that you love to do but did not have the opportunity to do?
Now it's the time to try those things out. There are some people that
they are older now, they are no longer working, they may not be able to move around so much, but they used to knit. Buy them the loom and the yarn. Let them knit sweaters for you. Let them knit the what's the name now? Head warmers for you, right? There's some people in our church that are older adults who do knitting classes together and they sell the stuffs.
Or do they like to paint, to draw?
Yeah, painting, things like that. By the dance, if they can move a lot. Many opportunities that start with we fostering that sense of interdependence, we communicating to our older adults.
We're going to keep repeating the first tip, which is you need a lot of patience.
Patience, yeah.
These things are not easy, and if care is not taken, you'll
be burned out and
you'll be frustrated, yes. But we know that by taking baby steps, you can actually live with your older adults with peace and tranquility.
Yes, and it's also important to note that there are different living conditions. Some people are living in senior living communities, which we'll talk about later on. Some people are living with their caregivers. Some people have caregivers that go to visit them in their own houses. So there are various living conditions, but these principles apply.
You have to adapt them.
You have to adapt them to
whatever living condition of your older adults.
And feel free to ask questions, right? The reason why we are sharing some of these things is so that you can learn or you can see maybe some ideas that can help you in your own life. If you have questions, ask us. We are healthcare professionals and we also have a large network of people who are concerned about older adult living. So we ask them questions and give you feedback as well. So
the 5 tips we discussed today.
Yeah.
Number 1, relate with your older adults with patience. Number 2,
respect them.
Number 3,
understand how they like to be supported.
Number 4, keep communication open, make it clear, make it concise at all times.
Yes.
And the 5th one
is to foster
a system of interdependence.
Thank you for joining us in this episode. Next one, we'll be talking about 5 more tips that caregivers can apply to support active, graceful, and purposeful living in their older adults.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for watching our video. There are several ways to connect with us.
Yes, you can visit our website, wrinklesgrace.com, to read articles to help your older adult and even yourself as a caregiver.
Yes, and the unique thing about our website is that we have big words or words that maybe not many people will understand. We have the meaning. So each article, we have some highlighted words that you can click and then a pop-up will come up that will show you the meaning of those words. And all our articles have references. We hope to add more like downloads, infographics,
and short tests. Videos, and short tests you could do at home.
Test assessments that you could do at home. So visit our website, wrinklesgrace.com. We are also on YouTube, of course, Instagram and Facebook. So go ahead, follow us, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to this channel. And
share your thoughts with us. We would love to really hear from you and connect with you.
Yeah, and share with somebody else as well that would benefit from our videos. Bye.